The training hall was filled with quiet tension as cadets stood in straight lines, each wearing polished uniforms that reflected the advanced standards of the academy. Every detail mattered in this place. Precision, discipline, and uniformity were expected. Anything different stood out immediately. That was why everyone noticed. Lena, the moment she walked in, her uniform was correct in structure, but over it, she wore something strange. A faded, heavy jacket made from rough fabric, old by any standard. It had patches on the sleeves, uneven stitching, and signs of wear that told a long story. It looked nothing like the clean, smooth materials used by the others. Some cadets exchanged glances. Others smirked. One leaned slightly toward another and whispered that she must have gotten lost on the way from a museum. Another quietly laughed and said the jacket looked like it belonged to someone who had never left the ground. Lena heard them, but she did not react. Her face remained calm as she took her place in line. The instructor had not arrived yet, so the whispers grew louder. Curiosity mixed with quiet judgment. A tall cadet finally spoke directly. He asked her why she was wearing something so outdated. When the academy provided everything needed, Lena looked at him for a moment before answering. In a steady voice, she said it was her choice. That answer only made things worse. The cadets around her took it as stubbornness, or worse, ignorance. The academy trained the best of the best from many worlds. Everyone here had earned their place. To them, Lena's jacket felt like a refusal to adapt. The door opened. Silence fell instantly. The instructor stepped inside with a slow. His presence alone was enough to command attention. He was known for his strict standards and his sharp judgment. His eyes moved across the room, observing every detail. They stopped on Lena. For a moment, no one spoke. The room felt heavier. The instructor walked toward her, his boots echoing softly against the floor. The cadets watched closely. Some expected her to be corrected immediately. Others thought she might even be removed from training. He stopped in front of her. His gaze dropped to the jacket. Then he looked back at her. Face. He asked her where she got it. Lena answered without hesitation. She said it was from Earth. A few cadets raised their eyebrows. Earth was known, but not particularly respected among advanced civilizations. It was seen as developing, still catching up. The instructor's expression did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. He asked her if she understood what the academy required. She said yes. He asked her why she chose to wear it anyway. Lena paused for a brief moment, then said it reminded her of where she came from. There was no defiance in her voice, only certainty. The instructor studied her for a second longer. Then, unexpectedly, he nodded. He told her to remain in position. The cadets were confused. They expected a correction, not acceptance. Training began. The first exercise was a simulation of hostile contact. The cadets were placed in teams and given scenarios that tested their decision-making under pressure. Lena was placed with the same cadets who had mocked her earlier. At first, they did not take her seriously. They assigned her minor roles, assuming she would slow them down. But as the simulation progressed, something changed. Lena moved with calm focus. She observed patterns quickly, predicted outcomes, adapted without hesitation. When a critical moment came, her team hesitated. The situation was complex. Multiple signals, unclear threats, limited time. Lena stepped forward. She made a decision. It was not the obvious choice, but it worked. The simulation shifted in their favor by the end of the exercise. Her team had achieved one of the highest success ratings. The same cadets who had laughed earlier were now silent. The instructor walked among them again. Reviewing performance? When he reached Lena's group, he paused. He asked who made the key decision during the critical moment. No one spoke at first. Then one of the cadets quietly said Lena did. The instructor looked at her again. This time, there was clear recognition in his expression. He told the group to pay attention. Then he spoke something that changed. Everything, he said. that real first contact, was not about technology or appearance. It was about understanding, patience, and the ability to act when others hesitated. He gestured slightly toward Lena's jacket. He said that sometimes what looked outdated carried experience that others did not. Understand. The room was completely silent. Now, the cadets who had mocked her felt a shift inside them. They began to see the jacket differently. It was no longer just an old piece of clothing. It was a symbol of something deeper. Training continued. Over the next few days, Lena kept wearing the jacket. This time, no one laughed. Instead, some cadets started asking her questions. They wanted to know about Earth, about her experiences, about how she learned to think the way she did. Lena answered simply. She did not exaggerate or try to impress. She spoke about learning from mistakes, about adapting in uncertain situations, and about staying calm when things felt overwhelming. Her words were not complex, but they carried weight. The instructor observed all of this quietly. One day, during an advanced session, something unexpected happened. The Academy received a real signal. It was not part of a simulation. It was unknown. The room filled with tension again, but this time it was different. This was real. The instructor's voice was low as he gave instructions. He told the cadets to prepare for potential first contact. The systems activated. Displaying fragmented data, the signal was unclear. Not following any known pattern, the cadets began analyzing. But confusion spread quickly. Nothing matched their training models. The instructor moved through the room. Watching their reactions then, he stopped near Lena. He leaned slightly closer and spoke just loud enough for her to hear. He said, "First contact." It was not a command. It was a moment. Lena stepped forward. She looked at the data, not trying to force it into familiar patterns. Instead, she approached it with openness. She adjusted the interpretation method, simplifying the signal rather than complicating it. Slowly, a structure began to appear. It was not perfect, but it was enough. She suggested a response. It was basic, cautious, and respectful. The instructor allowed it. The message was sent. Time passed in. Silence. Then a reply came, clearer this time. The room felt like it stopped breathing. The unknown had answered. The cadets looked at Lena. No one laughed anymore. The instructor finally spoke to the entire group. He said that this was why they trained, not to follow perfect rules, but to face the unknown with clarity and courage. He looked once more at Lena's jacket. Then he said that sometimes the past carried the key to the future. Lena stood quietly, her expression unchanged, but inside she felt something steady. Not pride, not victory, just a quiet understanding. She belonged here, and the jacket stayed on her shoulders. No longer something to mock, but something to respect.